The phone buzzed for the fourth time. I glanced at the screen. My husband, Robert. I let it ring out and took another sip of my wine. It was barely 9 in the morning, but I'd earned it. He'd been gone for 6 days on what he called a guys' golf weekend in Scottsdale. Except there were no guys, and certainly no golf. I'd known for 3 weeks. The credit card statement had arrived early, the one for the account he thought was his alone but that I'd kept quiet access to since we married. 5 years of marriage had taught me to trust, but verify. At 63, I'd already survived 1 divorce. I wasn't about to be blindsided again. The charges told a clear story. A resort in Sedona, not Scottsdale, romantic dinners for 2, a couple's massage, and the real kicker? 4 additional rooms booked under his name at the same resort, same dates. When I cross-referenced the names from the resort confirmation email I found in his deleted folder, it all made sense. Natalie Chen, age 38, along with her parents David and Susan Chen, and her younger brother Marcus. My husband was on vacation with his lover and her entire family. I should mention that Robert and I had both been married before. He was 61, retired early from a comfortable but not extraordinary career in pharmaceutical sales. I'd spent 35 years as a financial advisor, built a solid portfolio, bought this house in Austin 12 years ago, long before I met Robert at a charity fundraiser. When we married, my lawyer insisted on a prenup. Robert had signed without much fuss. He'd been charming then, attentive, maybe a little too eager to settle into the comfortable life I'd built. The house was mine. The investment accounts were mine. The car he drove, technically mine, though titled in both names for insurance purposes. Robert had his pension and Social Security, not much else. I'd discovered Natalie's existence by accident. A text notification on his iPad while we were watching television. "Can't wait for next week," it had said. When I casually asked who it was from, he'd grabbed the iPad and stammered something about his golf buddy being excited about their trip. That's when I started paying attention. Natalie was a fitness instructor at the gym Robert had joined 8 months ago. I'd met her once, briefly, when I stopped by to give Robert his forgotten phone. She'd been friendly, professional, stunning, if I'm honest. Long, dark hair, athletic build, bright smile. I remembered thinking Robert seemed unusually energized after his workouts lately. The deeper I dug, the worse it got. Deleted text threads I recovered from our cloud backup, photos he'd tried to hide, plans for this trip that went back 2 months. What struck me most wasn't just the affair, it was the audacity. He'd invited her parents, her brother. It was like he was introducing her to the world as his partner, his legitimate relationship, while I sat at home like a fool. The night before he left, we'd had dinner at our favorite Italian place. He'd held my hand across the table, told me he loved me, said he'd miss me while he was gone. I'd smiled and played along, because by then, I'd already made my decision. I'd already called my lawyer. I spent the first day of his trip doing reconnaissance. Our prenup was ironclad. The house was solely in my name, purchased years before our marriage with money from my first divorce settlement and my own savings. Texas is a community property state, but separate property stays separate if you keep it that way. I'd been meticulous. Never added him to the deed. Never commingled the funds I'd used to buy it. My lawyer, Patricia, was efficient. "You have every right to sell it," she confirmed. "It's your separate property. He has no claim." Even while we're still married? Even then. Though I'd suggest we start divorce proceedings immediately. Less messy. I filed the paperwork that afternoon. Texas requires a 60-day waiting period, but that was fine. I wasn't in a rush for the divorce to be final. I just needed the legal protection started. That evening, I called my daughter, Jennifer. She lived in Charleston with her husband and my 2 teenage grandchildren. I hadn't told her about Robert's affair yet, hadn't wanted to worry her. "Mom?" Her voice was concerned. "Is everything okay? How would you feel about your mother coming to stay with you for a while?" There was a pause. "How long is a while?" "Indefinitely." "What happened?" I told her everything. She was furious, of course. Wanted to fly to Austin immediately and give Robert a piece of her mind. I calmed her down, explained my plan. By the end of the call, she was on board. "The guest room is yours for as long as you want it," she said. "Forever, if you need." "I'll probably look for my own place eventually," I said, "but thank you, sweetheart. The next day, I called my real estate agent, Helen. She'd sold me this house 12 years ago and had kept in touch. I'd referred several clients to her over the years. "Maggie," she sounded delighted. "What can I do for you?" "I need to sell my house. Quickly. Is everything all right?" "Just ready for a change. Can you come by tomorrow?" She arrived at 10 the next morning with her photographer and staging consultant. The house was already in good shape. I'd always kept it immaculate. We'd done a kitchen renovation 3 years ago. The market in Austin was still strong, despite recent cooling. "I can have it listed by Friday," Helen said. "Given the location and condition, I'd suggest listing at $780,000. Should sell fast." "Do it." While Helen worked her magic, I worked on mine. I started packing. Not everything, just what mattered. My clothes, my jewelry, my photographs, my grandmother's china. I left Robert's things exactly where they were. I boxed up the items I wanted to keep and arranged for a moving company to put them in storage temporarily. I called my financial advisor and had him sell some stocks I'd been holding. I wanted liquid cash, wanted to be ready to move immediately when the house sold. I closed our joint checking account, the one we'd used for household expenses, and transferred my half to my personal account. It wasn't much, maybe $12,000. I left his half in a cashier's check with a note explaining I'd closed the account. On day 4 of Robert's trip, Helen called. "We have 3 offers. One is all cash, $20,000 over asking. Closing in 2 weeks. Take it. Don't you want to review them? Is it legitimate? Good buyer? Very. Retired couple from California. Cash sale, no contingencies." Then yes. That evening, I went through the house room by room. It felt surreal. I'd lived here through so much, recovered from my first divorce here, raised the last years of Jennifer's childhood here, built my financial advising practice here, met Robert here, after I'd thought I'd spend the rest of my life alone. I wasn't sad to leave it. Houses are just structures. What matters is the life you build inside them, and Robert had poisoned that. On day 5, I received a text from Robert. "Having an amazing time. Played Sedona Golf Club today. Stunning course. Missing you." I didn't respond. Instead, I called the golf club. "Hi, I'm trying to confirm my husband's tee time for today. Robert Winters? I'm sorry, ma'am. I don't show any reservations under that name. Would you like to book one?" "No, thank you." That afternoon, I packed my car with the last of my immediate essentials. The closing was in 9 days. I'd stay in a hotel until then. I'd already arranged for a cleaning service to come through the day before closing. I wanted the house empty and spotless when the new owners took possession. I left Robert's things. All of them. His clothes in the closet, his toiletries in the bathroom, his laptop on his desk, his golf clubs in the garage. The car in his name was paid off, so I left the title on the kitchen counter with a note. "The car is yours. Everything else in this house is yours to pack." I didn't leave the note about the house sale. He'd find out soon enough. On day 6 of his trip, his 4th call, I was in a hotel near downtown Austin, waiting for the closing. I'd spent the morning with Patricia, signing paperwork. The divorce petition had been filed. Robert had been served by email that morning, per Texas law. He probably hadn't checked his email yet, given he was too busy playing house with Natalie and her family. His 5th call came an hour later. Then a 6th. Then a text. "Maggie, please call me. Is everything okay?" I poured myself another glass of wine and opened my laptop. I drafted an email. "Robert, by now you should have received the divorce papers. I know about Natalie. I know about the trip you're on with her and her family. I know you're in Sedona, not Scottsdale. I know there's no golf. I've sold the house. It closes in 9 days. Your belongings are still there, but I'd suggest you arrange to move them before the new owners take possession. I've closed our joint checking account and left you a check for your half. The car is yours. Everything else you see in the house is yours to take. I've taken only what belonged to me before our marriage. My lawyer will be in touch about the divorce proceedings. Texas requires a 60-day waiting period. I'm not interested in dragging this out. The prenup is clear. You get what you came into the marriage with. I keep what was mine. I hope Natalie is worth it. Maggie." I didn't send it. Not yet. I wanted him to sweat a little longer. Day 7 was closing day. I met the buyers, a lovely couple in their early 60s named Tom and Linda. They were moving from San Francisco to be closer to their daughter. "We just love the house," Linda gushed. "The kitchen is exactly what we wanted." "I hope you'll be very happy here," I said, and meant it. I signed the papers. The money hit my account an hour later, $798,000 after agent fees and closing costs. Combined with my investment portfolio and retirement accounts, I was looking at just over $2.3 million in liquid assets. Robert would get none of it. I sent the email to Robert. His response came within 5 minutes. Just 2 words. "Call me." I didn't. He called 30 seconds later. I let it ring. Then came the texts. Rapid fire. "Maggie, this is insane. You can't sell our house without telling me. I'm calling my lawyer. This is illegal. You're being vindictive. Can we please just talk about this? I made a mistake, but we can work through this. Please." I blocked his number. Then I called Patricia. "He's panicking," I said. "Let him panic. He has no legal ground to stand on. The house was your separate property. You had every right to sell it. The divorce filing is proper. Everything is by the book. What about his stuff in the house? Did you give him notice?" In the email. 9 days to move it. That's more than generous. If he doesn't move it, it becomes the new owner's problem, not yours. I booked a flight to Charleston for the next morning. I'd already shipped most of my important belongings to Jennifer's house. The rest was in storage. I'd figure out what to do with it later. That night, I received an email from Natalie. The subject line was, "Please read." I almost deleted it, but curiosity won. "Mrs. Winters, I don't know what Robert has told you, but I need you to know that I had no idea he was still married. He told me you were separated and in the middle of a divorce. He said you were living separately. He showed me apartment listings he claimed you'd moved to. I found out the truth this afternoon when he got your email. He completely broke down. His parents are here too, and his brother, and they had no idea either. We're all devastated. I am so sorry. I would never have gotten involved with a married man knowingly. This is not who I am. I've already told Robert it's over. I've asked him to leave the resort immediately. I can't imagine how you're feeling right now. I'm horrified that I was part of this. Please know that I'm walking away. He's not worth this. I'm sorry. Natalie." I read it twice. Then 3 times. I wasn't sure if I believed her. Maybe she'd genuinely been deceived. Maybe this was damage control. Either way, it didn't matter. She was collateral damage in Robert's mess. I felt a small, petty satisfaction knowing that his perfect vacation with her family had imploded spectacularly. I didn't respond to her email either. The next morning, I flew to Charleston. Jennifer picked me up at the airport with both kids. They tackled me with hugs. "Grammy, are you really moving here?" "For a while," I said. "We'll see." Jennifer's house was lovely. The guest room had its own bathroom and a view of their garden. She'd already cleared space in the closet for me. That first week in Charleston was peaceful. I took walks along the waterfront, had dinner with Jennifer's family every night, started looking at condos in the historic district, made friends with other retirees at a local book club Jennifer's neighbor invited me to. Robert kept trying to reach me. Emails, calls from different numbers, messages through mutual friends. I ignored all of it. Patricia handled all communication through her office. 2 weeks after I left Austin, Patricia called. "He's not contesting the divorce. He signed the acknowledgement. Looks like he'll agree to the terms of the prenup." What changed? Reality, probably. His lawyer must have explained he has no case. Good. There's one thing, though. He wants to meet with you. Says he has things he needs to say in person. Absolutely not. That's what I told him. Just wanted you to know. I never saw Robert again. The divorce was finalized 60 days after filing, exactly as Texas law required. He got his pension, his Social Security, and the car. I got everything else. I heard through mutual friends that he moved to an apartment near his brother in Dallas. Natalie had indeed broken up with him. He tried to reconcile with me through intermediaries several times in those first months. I never responded. 6 months after leaving Austin, I bought a 2-bedroom condo in downtown Charleston, 3 blocks from the waterfront. I decorated it exactly how I wanted. joined a women's investment club, started volunteering at a financial literacy nonprofit, took a watercolor painting class. Jennifer and I had dinner every Sunday. My grandchildren visited after school sometimes. I built a new life, a good life, without Robert in it. People ask me sometimes if I regret how I handled it, if I should have confronted him, given him a chance to explain. I don't regret a thing. I'd spent 35 years advising clients on financial decisions. I'd seen countless divorces, messy separations, financial devastation from poor planning. I'd learned that emotions make you vulnerable, that the person who acts strategically wins. Robert had made his choice. He'd chosen to lie, to cheat, to bring another woman and her family into what should have been our life together. He'd underestimated me, assumed I'd be the dutiful wife waiting at home, clueless. Instead, I'd been the woman who'd built a career on reading people, protecting assets, and planning exits. I'd protected myself. I'd acted decisively. And I'd walked away with my dignity and my future intact. The house sold while he was on vacation with his lover. That wasn't vindictive, that was strategic. And honestly, it felt good. A year later, I was in a coffee shop in Charleston when I ran into an old colleague from Austin who'd moved east. We caught up, and inevitably, she asked about Robert. "Oh, you didn't hear?" she said. "He's back with his ex-wife, the first one." I nearly spit out my latte. "You're kidding." "Nope. Apparently they reconnected after your divorce. She'd heard about what happened and reached out. They're living together in her place in Houston." I couldn't help it. I laughed. "That's karma," I said. My colleague grinned. "I thought you'd appreciate that." As I walked home that afternoon, I thought about Robert and his ex-wife, trying again after all these years. I hoped, for her sake, she'd been smarter than I was. I hoped she'd kept her assets separate, her name on her deeds, her exit plan ready. But that wasn't my problem anymore. I had my condo, my family, my new city, my new life. I had my independence, my security, my peace. Robert had taught me one last valuable lesson, even if he hadn't meant to. You can start over at any age. You can choose yourself. You can walk away from what doesn't serve you and build something better. That's exactly what I'd done. And every morning when I woke up in my sunlit condo, made my coffee, and looked out at the Charleston harbor, I was grateful I'd had the courage to do it.